Hi everybody, that's one more series in a video blog of making an Overblow beast for Leonid. And in fact the last video ended on the foreblow being set up for an overblow and being stuck because I have used too much force and something jammed near the rivet. Well, in fact, a couple of times by plinking the reed it freed itself, so I guess I won't be showing today how it's done to de-emboss it, or maybe I will. So in fact, if the reed is getting stuck, just take this small piece of metal. I explained this in my advanced embossing part 2 video, and tuck it in between the reed and the slot and then go all the way up. And the thickness of this small piece of metal is perfect for doing all this. It's at the same time it's light, it's bendable, but it doesn't lose the form, and those things come from those security bars that are sometimes attached to expensive products in department stores, like perfume. So I think I'll just continue. Should check overblow number 4 before I proceed and before I get an idea what to do with it. In fact, I find gapping just enough, but I think I have to increase it a little bit because the reed chokes as I play it. Now this overblow is definitely not ready. I should go for something to show you the tolerances, but well, just listen what I say, maybe you'll get the idea. So right now I'm looking at the blow reed plate against the light, and I see that the reason why this overblow is not perfect is because this side is closed up to here, and I hardly see any light coming in between the reed and the slot, and only somewhere here there's a small dot of light. So I think I'll close this one very carefully, right in that corner where the reed becomes a rivet. So I'm closing this spot, and I think I'll have to go just a little bit further. I really should think of something, some sort of a table where light will come from underneath, but the glass is supposed to be rigid enough for not being breakable, and maybe that way you'll be able to see all of the things that I do in real time. What I also saw, yeah, the picture is fine. What I also saw on that reed is somewhere here on the other side there's a huge hole, like the embossing goes really tight here and then backs off a bit and then goes fine as well. So I have to check and fix this one from that side. I have received a couple of negative comments to those videos, by the way, which really puzzle me because, you know, I'm doing all of this for free, and I mean, I'm wasting my time on this. so to think, if people don't like what I'm doing, if they think that it's not useful, or maybe it's even, unnecessary, or if I dare to say, those videos, you'd better be without them, or what those comments mean. I don't get it. Some people say that the stuff I'm doing is primitive. Yeah, it is primitive. It is primitive, but I'm quite anal about this, about what I'm doing, and the primitive stuff will give good results in the end. To all those guys who shout at how primitive my technique of making harmonicas is, I encourage you to upload a video where you show some better process for doing this, and I think you'll do something good for the community this way, and you will push the harmonica into 21st century. If you have a know-how how to make an automated process of embossing, that would be fine. Yeah, that's a very primitive way of doing it, but it requires finesse. So if you're precise in it, and those guys may be completely unaware that right now at this point it's really only the first stage. I haven't even assembled the harmonica yet. All I'm doing is I'm roughly embossing it. There will be much more tedious work than this. Based on my experience, I can tell you that I'm 99% sure that in the end, when I assemble it for the first time, it will play nothing like it plays now. It will play much worse, and I'll have to do more adjustments. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Which is funny, by the way, because when you assemble the instrument, the harmonica becomes more airtight, because the screws will press the reed plate against the comb, and those micro leaks will eventually disappear. But at the same time, the overblow will become much less airtight. And one explanation for this is because when the comb will press the reed plate against it, the screws will never mind, you get the point. The reed plate will change the curve, so it will slightly bend inwards, and all the work that I'm doing right now will look a bit different, and the tolerances will be a bit different, and also the gapping affected. Everything will change as and as you put the covers on. That will be stage 3 of my work. Now, this thing doesn't bend up quite easy because of gapping, which I'm gonna reduce a little bit. And then well, it's definitely not ideal yet, so I'm gonna go over the biggest part of the slot once again with something even more primitive. I'm also quite stunned about your comments on the Buddha harp. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, really. You know, guys, you can get tons of things. You can think of tons of activities to spend that time on instead of, watching, borrowing Uncle Jim, doing all this stuff. Or you watch this just because, you want to say something nice. No, I really don't get those guys. The point of those videos is to, really share knowledge. That's what I'm doing. I have to sit in front of my computer and then, spend all that time cutting the video and editing it, and then converting and uploading all of this, and then I'll have to update the website and post it all to the forum, and this takes time. I could have just made this harmonica and shipped it, because probably Leonid needs it. But instead of it all, I'm showing all this to you and I'm explaining it. If you haven't noticed, I have to talk for the whole hour to entertain you somehow. So I can't say that I'm disappointed with it. I'm used to being, laughed at and, some sort of the renegade people in the world. But anyway, as you notice, I'm not even checking it right now. And with practice, you develop some sort of a feel when is enough and how much is enough. Also, answering the comment about the 1,000 words in one picture. Well, I believe that 1,000 words can say much more than one picture, just because there's lots of things that I would not, remember to say if I were to make, one short 10-minute video. More. As you may notice, I've been working on that read for quite a long time, and in fact there's still space for improvement. That's one of the peculiar features of German silver, which is the metal alloy that the reed plate is made of. This metal is hard and liquid, so to say. I don't know what the appropriate word would be. So you can do emboss for a long time, coming closer and closer to it, It takes more time, but the result is much more precise than with brass. Unless, of course, some special way of doing this. Like putting it in some machine to do all this for you. I've thought of some of this, but I don't know how to make this process automatic. Also, some guys pointed out that I may be using a glass cutter to emboss near the rivet. Well, yeah, it's possible, but I'm using what works for me the most. And yeah, you can use anything. And even though it may look a bit sloppy and rough from the outside, what you're doing is exactly the same, no matter how you do it. I mean, it's not a matter of how it looks, it's a matter of how it plays in the end, right? So I would say anything goes as long as you can play it. Okay, so right now what I feel necessary to do is to close the gap even more and see what is exactly the minimum gap for this. Like this one, for example. Now it still comes off quite roughly after being bent up, which is what I don't like. You know, I told you I don't like harmonicas to behave like this. And here's the reason why, by the way. If, for example, you apply vibrato to an overbent note, using the tongue for it, for instance, you can easily swing it too wide, and you risk, you know, winding up in a place where overblow will come off and you'll get lots of awful sounds. While if at the same time the overblow would go into no sound, so you will just feel when the sound disappears, and your body will adjust to it and you'll play the vibrato just fine. So that's why I prefer things like this. So here is the exact point when you begin to lose the overblow on the top. This point. And that sound is not exactly pleasant. And when you apply vibrato, you risk, you know, getting into this, which is not what your listener would like to hear from you. So that's an indication that I should spend a bit more time and close the slots a little bit more, either to have a wider range of an overblow note, which in theory can go up indefinitely, or if I don't succeed in doing this, then I'll try to, you know, come to a compromise where the note will just disappear at the top. It looks much better now. And that's here. Here is the place where small hole is. And this primitive but very precise process, you know, involves moving the metal by tenths of a millimeter, you know, smaller than this small screwdriver head from the side. You know, that's how anal you should go. And I think that I wouldn't call this primitive just because of this. And if you go only a little bit further, then you'll have a problem and you'll have to start all over. You hear? I'm right on the point, right on the edge of it. So a little bit further somewhere and we'll get stuck. Well, I think I'll come back to it a bit later and move up to hole 5. I'll come back to it a bit later because I want to hear how it sounds when I assemble it. Just because I will come back to it anyway. So I'll move on to other overblow notes, set them up, and then that's where the fun begins, when I'll have to take it all apart, assemble, take it all apart again, and so on. I have added a couple of very interesting lessons on breathing to the learning center of the website and to the forum by Alexei Kafanov, who is a singer and a guitar player, but he's got several very useful lessons on breathing, vocal wise, but those lessons are quite useful in general because he explains in a very nice way how to activate the diaphragm. And his English is not very good, but that doesn't prevent you from listening to it. In fact, you could even watch it in Russian because he shows it. I'm continuing to improve the 5th hole by applying some simple embossing to it. Now this is gonna take some time, and I intentionally don't stop the camera for you to see how fast can you actually work. And it's not fast at all. I don't really think that it's possible to do it faster than this. I mean, much faster. If I hadn't talked, probably I would be a bit faster, but not too much. Still, it's a manual, slow process, and you have to stop for checks and corrections. What if I try to show you, let me try this like that, let's see, yeah. So I finally made the way for you to see. So that's the slots. Picture the slots, and as you see, I didn't really go real tight on holes. I completely skipped hole 1 for the first, and those slots are narrowed. Hole number 4 is real narrow, and hole number 5 is a good contrast to it. As you see, near the rivet of the 4th hole, you see almost nothing. That's where the embossing is the narrowest. In hole 5, 6 and so on are very, very much stock. Almost no work. So this is how it looks. And this is how you should check it. If you don't see which direction you should go, you will have no idea what you actually should do. So we got a long way to go on hole 5, and because I noticed that holes 2 and 3 still have a lot to emboss, and hole 4 in the general part of it still has some place for embossing left, I'll just leave it for the second and the third stage of improvement, when well, you'll see. Anyway, I like things to be step by step. I don't want to rush on embossing or anything. I better have some place still left to be improved than to make it, over tight and then have to correct things. It's always easier to work than to change something. If you need a harmonica with brass reeds with Overblow setup, by the way, yeah, it's possible. Most of you probably know Boris Plotnikov, who is a very talented harmonica player and a customizer, and he's making darn good harmonicas. So I'm passing half of my orders to him because some people want things I'm not really doing anymore, but he does them, and he does them good, so why not? And one more reason why I do this is because, for those of you who are not familiar with the foreign ministry policy in Russia, you can't get money on PayPal if you're in Russia. I don't know why exactly is it that way, but say if you want to get a custom harmonica from Boris Plotnikov, there will be problems with getting the money from him to him, yep. Unless, of course, you do a deal like we have. I mean, if you pay for something that Boris buys on eBay or whatever, and then he gives you a custom harmonica in exchange for it, that's one thing you can do. Or you can just drop an email saying blah blah blah, I need a brass harmonica, and I'll forward you to him. There's another very cool guy, Slava Vinogradov, who is making those custom combs. I think I'll show them by the end of this video, some of them. You can view pictures. I think they're all on the website under custom shop, custom combs. And he's also a customizer. He does pretty good setup for brass reeds. I'm saying this because I've tried his work, and if you don't believe me, you can view close-up pictures which are on the forum in the custom shop section, sub-forum read work, and then you'll see them. There will be more pictures of custom work posted there, namely a couple of other harmonicas from other customizers, and my work including. Speaking of Boris Plotnikov, by the way, he also made a very nice, well-organized thread about on harpaclub.com about his music. He posted all his best videos and all his best audio in one place. General forum, subforum videos and audio. It's a sticky thread at the top. Yeah, now I see some improvement at the bottom. Leonid has posted a video lesson on articulation. He's examining Paganini's 24th Caprice. And I mention it because being able to articulate is a very, very important way of checking overbends and normal blow notes, because sometimes you can check them and they're perfectly fine. You check the overbend and then you check the blow note after that and it comes off fast. But if you try to do this with articulating ta, overbend, ta, blow note, and doing this fast, you have high chances that the blow note will not respond fast or not respond at all. And you have to keep this in mind. You have to adjust the harmonica so it plays well, even in this case. This is also tricky. Вася, накажу. So the lower half is narrow enough, so I'm focusing on the middle. Again, I repeat, if someone has a better idea how to do this, some sort of a automatic tool or just a better manual tool, let me know. So that I don't waste your time so long. think now it's time to close the slots near the rivet. Frankly speaking, I don't see anything wrong with this method. Really, it may look brutal, but it gives you what you want. And this metal alloy is really very hard. So I doubt that any softer methods will be as productive. Those who are skeptical about it probably have never customized German silver before. Do this at your own risk. I'm not responsible for any damage you may cause to your harmonica. Now it's beginning to close. Now I particularly enjoy making this one because I know that it's gonna be played, and I know that Leonid will beat the hell out of it, playing it to its extent, and taking all of that he can give. Now it's only left to close off the slot right here. And from the other side. Have you noticed that the reed went down and stuff? As I accidentally hit it a little bit here. I'm really happy that this is a steel reed, because a brass reed would break. Gonna close it off near the rivet a little bit more. In from this side a little bit, in from this. A bit here. And now comes the true reed plate, which is completely not perfect. I'm centering 4 draw because I noticed that it's not in the middle, and I'm gonna work on 4 draw a little bit more. just because I see that there is still places that can be improved. And the 5 draw. Sometimes the sensor using my fingers, moving it sideways. I've never really used the reed censoring tool. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Damn, I wanna sleep. It's 12 AM here, and I was staying up late until 4 or something. I also think that working on your harmonicas improves both your technique and your feel of the instrument. When you do something to them, you know for sure how it's gonna respond, how it's gonna play, how it's gonna overblow and bend. And if you know your harmonica better, that only improves your playing. More. We need more embossing. Now hole number 5 is a bit different from hole number 4. Firstly because it's higher, and secondly because there's no half-step bend in between, and I believe this affects overblows as well. Well, as you hear, it's bendable, and it bends up very well, and it's also very airtight. So you can go up to the second note, to the neighboring note. So I'm playing 6th blow and then 5th over bend up to 6th blow. You can go up to 6 half-step bend. And even up to 6 draw. So I think number 5 is ready at this stage.